Hello my friends, today I will show you how I did this electric logo. Of course I attached this animation in my Patreon. I invite you to my Patreon. You may download this file and use in your commercial project. I think if you change on the logo, you have finished intro. So I invite you to my Patreon, link is below. Let's get started. The first we create this object. Of course, you see this object consists from several elements. You see blue border, orange border, red border, and inside we have this solid element. So if you have your logo, for example, your logo with alpha channel and cut out inside and outside, import this element to Fusion, because if you have PNG with alpha channel, this method is faster. I recommend import PNG with alpha channel, but if you haven't Illustrator or if you haven't Photoshop, you may cut out this object from in Fusion. How to do it? Of course, you may use polygon tool. Using polygon tool, you may create polyline. This is my reference object, and from this object we need to create this. How to do it? Of course, I told you, you use polygon tool, and don't connect this element. You only draw shape. Remember, if you draw this object in this place, right click here for shape animation, click mouse, of course, in this place, and remove polygon to polyline. This is very important. If you don't do this, your polyline will be changed position. So this is very important. This is my letter C. Okay, so I change name. This is my C. And next node, of course, will be F. This is my F. And of course, I create second polyline. And of course, earlier I'll prepare this element. So I tell you important. If you want to adjust, maybe in C will be better. If you want to set only one handle, click Control. Okay. If you want to, for example, smooth this element, you may change this option from this place, or you may click Control C or Control L is, of course, the same. You click linear. Okay. And if you do this, connect this with this, okay, and connect this element with background. Color doesn't matter in this time, because later we adjust color. This is my element. Of course, I told you I prepared this element earlier. This is this element. And you see how I achieve this cutout inside. Of course, I use filter. Okay, filter give you possibility cut out object inside and outside. Filter creates border. Okay, so filter set to Sobel, and thanks to this I have this element. This element I delayed. So next node I think important is erode, because erode gives me possibility changing thickness. Look at this. If I connect erode, I may change thickness border. Okay, and now I connect this element with image plane 3D, my friends. So now I am in 3D dimensional space. Now we add distortion. You see this element is, this border is distortion. You see this. Okay, so how to do it? Of course, we need to displacer 3D and fast noise. So I connect in this place displacer 3D, And in Displacer 3D of course require fast noise. Earlier I prepared this fast noise. This is my fast noise. My fast noise is animated. So what I animated? Angle. I have shift rate 0.47, and you see I set detail, contrast, brightness. You may set the same parameters. So now we connect this fast noise with Displacer 3D, and we need to change, of course, value in Displacer 3D scale. I think 0.04 is enough. Something like this. Maybe I add a little subdivision in image plane 3D. I add 20. And now I change color. Go to materials. Of course, if you connect shader, word, blend, cook tolerance, of course you may change color in shader, but if you haven't connect shader, word, cook tolerance, blends, font, you change color in image plane 3D material. Okay, so I set maybe light blue. This is my color. Maybe later I change this color, and now I add new node, my friends. New node, duplicate 3D, duplicate 3D, duplicate 3D. I have two copies and I change the offset. Something like this, okay? I have this, but in my original project, you saw this blue border have, look at this. This is solid alpha, solid alpha, solid alpha. How to create this cutout in my border? You may use simply technique. In this place, between erode and image plane 3D, you may add merge 2D, and because this is connect background, I may connect my fast noise to foreground, and in merge, my friend, in operator, I may set in. Okay? Thanks to this, I achieve this whole, you see, I think it is understandable. So now we have this object, but at this time, my stroke are overlay, have the same shape. So I may change in duplicate 3D offset, time offset. In this place, I set -15. Okay, thanks to this, my border it looks better. Okay, but now we add camera renderer 3D. So in this place, of course, we need to, and maybe this object, this object I add to group, Ctrl G, because I like when in my flowchart is clean, and I close this in underlay, blue underlay, because this object is blue, and I set, for example, blue. This is my blue stroke. Now I add merge 3D. I connect this with this, and I add next merge 3D. I add camera, and I add renderer 3D. Renderer 3D, of course, I set to OpenGL. My computer is slow, so I change anti-aliasing, IT-aliasing. At this time when I work, I check off high quality and IT-aliasing. I set 1 and 1. And very often when I work, I set proxy 2, maybe sometimes 4. Displacer 3D and duplicate 3D need more powerful computer. So now we change position camera. We have this. We have, my friend, this. Because I want my object to be invisible in first frame, I need to change parameters in fast noise. I need to animate it exactly contrast and brightness. So in frame 10, I have my friend keyframe in contrast and brightness. You see my parameters. So I go to frame first and I change brightness -2 and contrast 0. Thanks to this, I achieve this effect. So in first frame my logo is invisible, then is visible. Okay. Now I add new element. Exactly, I copy this construction and it will be my orange border. Okay, it will be my orange border. So okay, this is orange. Now of course we change color in this element exactly in image plane 3D material, and I set orange. And now my orange stroke and blue are overlay. So we need to change fast noise, exactly shift rate. Okay, you see, thanks to this element not overlays. And I think good solution is change erode. Erode gives me possibility change thickness. So I want, for example, this orange will be a little thickness, but blue will be thin. So go to erode in orange underlay and change position, maybe something like, okay, something like this. We have this element. Now, of course, maybe we change position, maybe a little. I move image plane 3D axis Z. Maybe this is okay. And now I add new effect, exactly raise, highlights, and later I add the focus. But now I add raise, highlights, and highlights I change this threshold. So we have this element. Now I add rotation. So how to do it? Of course, I add in this place, transform 3D. Transform 3D, my friends. And of course, we add keyframe in, for example, frame 70. Of course, rotation y-axis. Go to frame first and I set parameters -20. Okay, something like this. Maybe this orange element is okay, maybe it's okay. Now I go to spline editor and I select this, set Shift S and change this parameter. It will be a little more dynamic. Now we add next element. I mean this element in background. This big CF, okay? Of course, we copy this element and we add transform 3D and change scale. I change color underlay, maybe violet. I add in this place transform 3D, and in transform 3D I change scale. Sorry, this is this object. Change scale, maybe change position, and I think this object is to brightness. I a little change fast noise, I change shift rate, I change erode. I think this object may be a little thin, something like this. And you know, you adjust. This is tutorial. At this time, this is my improvisation. I don't remember every parameters from my original, from my intro. So maybe I a little change scale, something like this. It's too big. Okay, I changed a little contrast in this object in frame 10, of course. I set C7.6, so I have this, and now we may add, for example, background and maybe a little more highlights. Okay, maybe a little more highlights. Okay, now I add background. Background, of course, I add in this place. Maybe I show tile picture. In this place I add background, because you know at this time we have, this is everything with alpha channel, very nice, because you may add picture, video file, you know. So I add in this case background, gradient, and I change color, maybe dark blue, okay, something like this. Okay, of course it must be background, and this is electric logo. Of course, in my original composition I add inside logo. So how to do it? Of course, we create next object. I copy this element. Of course, this element, this is the same your logo, alpha channel, with alpha channel, but because I create this object in Fusion, I add filter. So I delete this filter, I have this element, and I connect this with image plane 3D. This is my object. And this object, of course, I add inside this composition. Of course, at this time this is white, but I change color, maybe. Of course, you may add in this place, connect this composition with shader, something like Word, Cook Torrents. In my original composition I add, this is Word with bump, I think looks great, but in this tutorial I use this element. So we have something like this, maybe dark blue will be better. And for example, if you add graphic, for example, if you use texture and you use Word, for example, I use shader Word. So I add Word shader. So I create something like this, replace material. Now I import bitmap. It will be my bump. So I create bump. Maybe I change a little parameters, so I connect this bump with background and change scale. This is easy trick. I change this with this background alpha 0. It will be my bump. Okay. I set bump to my friends, of course, alpha. And this is my bump. I set color in my shader, maybe dark gray, something like this. Okay, this is my shader. Maybe I change specular. Okay, and look at this. If I connect this element, of course in replace material I set alpha mode multiply, okay? And what is important, look at this. This is my material with this shader. I little change position. Okay, this is my shader. This is my shader. And look at this. This is important. Now I don't see these triangles. I don't see this shader. Why? Because Renderer 3D has inactive lighting. But if I active lighting, we have a little problem. Look. Now I don't see anything. Of course, I need to add lights. Okay, I add lights. For example, spotlights. I add spotlights. Change position. And it not looks like good. Why? Because my effect highlights rays I adjust earlier when lights was inactive. What shall we do? We, for example, is trick in image plane 3D in this element we inactive image plane 3D light option. So go to image plane 3D, lighting, affect by lighting, check off. In display is the same, and in display is the same. Now, thanks to this, my stroke looks great, okay? But of course I see this pattern. This pattern will be only visible if you active light in Renderer 3D. What shall we do? Now we have this. I think I change a little powerful light because it's too big. Maybe something like this. And I change position this light. It's okay. So we have this animation. Okay? Something like this, I think looks great. And next effect is of course defocus. Now we add defocus. So we add defocus. And in the focus, I add my friends mask circle. Ellipse, sorry. Ellipse, of course, invert, soft edge, and something like this. Okay, I set proxy because my computer is not powerful. And this is my technique how I create this effect. Of course, I may change parameters in if you want to this element exactly. I want to this solid element to be invisible in frame 0, so go to first frame and change parameters in Word. Exactly, look at this. I set, for example, in frame first, Word opacity 0, but maybe in frame 30 I set 1, okay? Okay, this is my 3D space, and we achieve this effect. Of course, with proxy it not looks great, but if I disconnect proxy, is okay. Okay, my friends, it's all in this tutorial. In the next part I'll show you how I create this lightning, because I think it's too more to one tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. I will be glad if you leave a comment. Please leave a comment. I will be glad if you subscribe my channel and maybe support my channel development. Of course, I invite you to my Patreon. Link is below. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.